Do you remember your first cell phone just like your first kiss or first car? Do you still keep your first phone with you as a memory? If you remember your first phone, you know how special it used to be for us and how much we used to care about it and wouldn't let anyone even touch the phone. That's the amount of bond we have bonded with it, and we still do that at some point, don't you? Now, they are called vintage cell phones as it's been a long time since they first started to be manufactured. But as attention thrives, so does importance over a long period. So those vintage cell phones you have protected away at your place may already be worth greatly more than you guess. And nowadays, smartphones have taken over cell phones, and we rarely get to see someone use vintage cell phones. But let's check out some of the 10 most vintage cell phones till now. Number 10. Pre-Production Prototype iPhone. The 2007 Apple iPhone was a crucial landmark in phone layout and theory. However, a new in-box 2G iPhone might be worth £2,000 nowadays. If you are lucky enough to have a pre-production model of that phone, you are a very fortunate person. Prices differ broadly, but moral instances have been understood to make more than $30,000 before in online auctions. However, be careful, there are bunches of basic phones with model software established living flopped off as the actual stuff. Number 9. Nokia 7700. I am not certain what appears to your mind when you speculate about Nokia. Probably you all think nostalgic and tingly about their kooky layouts. When every company was working on gaining profits, Nokia was working on designing unique models on cell phones. And this developed the Nokia 7700. Do you know that this model didn't go to the market? Although it is the first multimedia smartphone that has FM radio, Bluetooth, etc. This phone shape is very unusual and was developed by Nokia in the year 2003, but never got into productions, so only pre-production models are established today. Had it been published, it would have existed as an adversary for the first smartphone in the world, but rather is now a coveted collectible. Number 8. Rainbow Star TAC. Motorola published the Star TAC Spectrum in 1986 and was one of the main clamshell layout phones. A multicolored edition that was related to the United Colors of Benetton phone. It was published in insufficient numbers and is a tremendous representation of a fast custom phone. This was the first idea that Motorola's European team came up with. By the end of the Motorola Flare program, there was a lot of extra colored plastic from the case, and I wanted to find a use for it. The colorful Star TAC was invented, but they turned it down when it was proposed to Motorola's Chicago headquarters. Number 7. Nokia 7600. During the time of the 2000s, phone manufacturers agreed to go more innovative and funky style with phone layouts, comprising this one from 2003. Collectible today due to its extreme and extraordinary structure. There were even more different phone formats established, which are almost as sought after. Number 6. FER2 Phones. The FER2 Corporations was arranged in the first half of the 2000s to cater to the extremely high quality and amenity phone market. Their most costly phones were bought for several tens of thousands of pounds and would have made of valuable metals or even diamond encrusted. Today, the most fundamental FER2 phones can be picked up for as small as £50, but in the future, FER2's different top-end phones will be worth substantial amounts of cash again to collectors. Number 5. Nokia Mobira Cityman. When this model was launched, it exemplified technological and scientific innovation, and it was totally fresh. You know that the earlier mobile phones weighed around 5 kilos. But this model just weighed 800 grams. It weighed this much gram encompassing the battery. It shortly became prominent high-end equipment and a significant variety, but not to forget that it wasn't inexpensive. We can roughly say that in today's value of cash, this model would have cost nearly 4,500 euros. Another particular instance of an AHEAD brick phone was prominent among business people. This phone was released in 1987. Number 4. Motorola Dynatech 8000X. Formulated by Rudy Krolop and looked at by Martin Cooper, this brick of a phone evaluated £2, given just half an hour of conversations per text, and bought for a huge amount of $3,995. The appliances prominently came to be an 80s hero and was popularized by famous Wall Street personality Gordon Gekko. It was the prime commercially available portable phone in 1984, the chief of research at CCS Insight Ben Wood told CNBC. Although it may be considered very impractical by modern standards, the Dynatech was considered revolutionary at the time because it was bulky enough to attach to vehicles and heavy briefcases. In addition, the Dynatech 8000X was the first mobile phone to connect to telephone network and be carried by the user without the help of a cell service provider. Number 3. Nokia 3310. The Nokia 3310 was hugely outstanding, selling over 100 million units. It was a stalwart in the history of mobile phones. The Nokia 3310 was generated at plants in Finland and Hungary. The Nokia mobile phone 3315S were generated in South Korea for the Asia-Pacific demand. It has a very fast messaging-like characteristics that operates on basic SMS. The 3310 is understood to retain many characteristics that were unusual for that period. These comprise many utilities such as calculator, Nokia network monitor, stopwatch, and indication function. The Nokia 3310 can be customized with convertible express-on codes, and thousands of various structures have been generated by numerous corporations all over the world. Number 2. T-Mobile Sidekick. This fashionable phone with its QWERTY keyboard was a progressive handset for its time, with the availability of internet connections, and a screen size was 2.6 inch, which is quite a big size for a phone for the period. It was initially known as the Danger Hip Top, and later the phone was rebranded as the T-Mobile Sidekick. The phone was modernized when T-Mobile published the Sidekick 4G in 2011, but redesigned it from the subsequent year. The Sidekick came to be a go-to option for famous personalities. But not just them, normal people were also in love with this phone. Number 1. Blackberry 6230. This must have been quite obvious, right? The Blackberry was the phone with the X factor during its time. Owning a Blackberry was a big deal back then. This phone stimulated the buyer market, remembering just its emphasis on businesses. The nation loved Blackberry's QWERTY keyboard and email functionality in its heyday. However, announcers reports that Blackberry saw the appliance as business equipment and wasn't energetically glancing to depth commercial buyers in 2003 when the equipment was launched. The fascinating thing with this was it was the first indications that Blackberry had a blueprint that might request from buyers, not just company stoners. It was a tipping juncture. Blackberry wasn't starting to become a consumer product. The appliance had a 2.6-inch screen, analyzed 136 grams, and its battery could handle up to 5 hours of talk time. You won't be finding any music or audio system in this model, and the total memory of the model was 16 megabyte. Well, you see this memory weightage is not going to work now, right? Moreover, it doesn't have the facility of inserting the external memory. But if you want to buy this model, you will easily get it in online stores, and it comes in different colors. The 2.6 inches cell phones uses micro SIM. So as we can see, these vintage cell phones show the innovations of the engineers. Different developers have worked on it to make the best cell phones for us. Do you know that cell phones are still present with some people? Probably they knew that these cell phones will become aesthetically important and will teach humankind about the inventions and innovative minds of the developers. Nowadays, smartphones have taken over vintage cell phones, but that doesn't mean we have forgotten the vintage cell phones, right? We all know what smartphones can do, but these features are not present in the vintage cell phones. As we have stepped forward for the modern era, which is technically developing, the features of smartphones are updating, and you can understand why vintage cell phones won't work in this modern era. Make sure to like and share the videos if you enjoyed watching it. Then subscribe to never miss out on more interesting countdowns.